Hey everyone, it's Gina. You're listening to Seer Sessions. I share guided hypnotic journeys and conversations that help you quiet mental noise, rebuild your self-trust, all so you can make decisions from your clear center to create a life that feels aligned to you. And I am recording this from one of my favorite places, Joshua Tree National Park. If you want to see where I'm at, you can watch the video. That's on YouTube or Spotify. If you're going in, you're expanding your awareness, you're expanding your capacity, you're shifting your beliefs, you're changing your point of view on life, your friendships are going to change. For a lot of my clients, friendship would come up because as we're on these journeys of like learning and growing and shifting and changing, of course, our relationships are going to shift and change because we are half of them. I've definitely gone through phases with friendship. Friends are there for a season, for a reason. I don't think it's necessarily like the longer the better. And I don't think it's a failure of the friendship if it comes to an end or the people kind of like grow and evolve away from each other or away from that relationship. A lot of times there is no big argument or betrayal or big shift that we can like really put our finger on. It's just like these subtle feelings that start to grow as we subtly start to shift and change within ourselves and like how we move through our life, and just being more intentional along with that to spend our time and energy in ways that feel a little bit more aligned with who we are authentically and where we want to go. So one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about friendship is because I spent so much time in friendships that had really been outgrown. Because these shifts and changes are so subtle, it took me a really long time. Like some of my friendships, they took different life paths and decisions, and I didn't really get it. I didn't really see that I was kind of just like doing life, trying to hang on to these relationships with people who were like growing and changing. And so what I want to do with this topic is allow you to explore the subtleties of it, because I don't want you to be like me where I just right away was like, I'm an asshole for not liking this relationship as much anymore. It really kept me stuck in relationships and frankly a lot of life decisions that just weren't for me anymore. So I thought, let's talk about friendship on this podcast, because I know the people doing hypnosis, you are all growing, changing, shifting your perspective, your consciousness and your awareness are expanding. And so of course your relationships are going to shift and change. And I don't think it's necessarily about automatically ending a relationship that feels kind of out of alignment. It's really about tuning into the subtleties of like you and what you want most in any relationship. A lot of my clients in their sessions, it came up so much that I started to notice a pattern of like, how is this actually taking place within people? Like, what are these subtle changes? Because I right away, as someone who can just immediately criticize myself and see the wrong within me, it was easy for me to look at that and just almost like feel the discomfort and then like set it to the side, because I didn't want to even think about the relationship being over. I didn't want to think about, someone's life change, meaning that I had to change. So we work to identify these subtleties so we can establish patterns sooner and then make decisions and smooth out these areas of our life that are draining us, that are frustrating us. That drain and that frustration is even more taxing when we're unconscious of it. Because when we're unconscious of it, we do a lot of shit to cover it up that if we were conscious of it, we would maybe instead be like, oh, you know what? This is actually something I'd want to clean up anyway, instead of just being unconsciously, subconsciously driven by this behavior, this fear, this point of view. Okay, so let's talk about it. I got some notes. So the first thing that would come up, you're growing, you're shifting, you're changing, you're healing. When we do that, it doesn't seem big, like expanding your awareness, shifting your beliefs and your point of view. They all seem like invisible little things that you maybe do if you're like incredibly in pain or, I don't know, have a lot of time on your hands. But really this healing work that we do is work that allows us to like relax in our physical body and our nervous system, and allows with that our perception to shift and change. We take on a greater awareness, more wisdom, a sort of evolution. So if you've surrounded yourself with people who aren't doing that, it's completely normal for you to not feel satisfied by those people. Now, do you have to kick those people out of your life? Not necessarily. And if you want to go deeper into that idea, that question of like, when do you cut someone out? On Patreon, we go deeper into this conversation. I share more stories about clients and around friendship, my own habits around friendship that I used to see and have moved through, where I'm at right now with friendship. And then I also share clips from a higher self session of mine that I did last year where we talk about, when do you cut someone out? Just the fact they bring you down or make you feel at all depleted or frustrated or resentful, is that a reason to cut them out? Not always. So my higher self lays that out, and a little bit more specific, like other questions that you can ask yourself that help you get at that clarity. Because it sucks to end a relationship, so why do it automatically? And then along those lines of, you're having these subtle yet profound shifts on your perspective on life, your perspective on yourself, how you want to do relationships, how you're seeing how energy is in your life, where you get it, where it depletes you. So of course, with that, you're going to become more aware of roles in your life. Roles you played for acceptance, roles you played to please someone who was important to you. All of those things become more and more clear. And unfortunately, all of those old roles that we kind of step out of, a lot of times, unfortunately, our friends are kind of reliant on us being in those roles. You know, whether it's like they just are more comfortable with us there, or maybe our growth makes them uncomfortable. It doesn't matter. Just us shifting out of certain roles and ways of being to save ourselves, to save our own energy, to redirect it to the life we came here to create. That is uncomfortable for some people, and it destroys relationships when not everybody is playing their part. So it's something to be aware of. Sometimes that is a time for that relationship to end, or the two of you to kind of evolve in different directions. And sometimes we can have a role shift, and instead it's like a really great opportunity to get clear on like, what do you want instead in this relationship, and to, you know, use all your courage and bring it to that person, whatever that conversation looks like to you. That's a deep, vulnerable conversation. If that goes well, that's leveling up in that relationship. The old roles, the shifting of your beliefs, just be aware of those things so you can move forward in a way that doesn't cause all this subconscious friction and resentment within you. Another common thing that clients noticed was just this subtle feeling in certain friendships where it just felt off. Like they couldn't even put their finger on it. Or maybe even, I know for me, consciously in my mind, it was like, I want to be here. I want to be doing these things with this person or with these people. But afterward, I would feel so drained. And what would come up with clients when it was this inexplicable feeling in their body was always ultimately their body picking up on these subtle shifts before their conscious mind did. So to take that knowing of like, this doesn't feel right anymore, and bringing that question to a hypnotic journey can help illuminate so much and help us to naturally evolve away from a relationship without feeling guilt or resentment, or to shift and change in that relationship and deepen that connection between you. Here's the thing: healing, going into your shadow, releasing or soothing your trauma, understanding who you are authentically and what life you came here to create, and moving in that direction, all of those things change not only your ability to move in that direction, but it also completely changes what makes you feel safe, what makes you have fun, what feels nourishing, what feels performative and draining. As I learned more about myself, what makes me happy, what truly brings me joy, so many of my relationships were really dependent on me abandoning myself, abandoning what I prefer to do in a relationship, me abandoning the points of view I want to share with certain people, me abandoning whole groups of emotion, me abandoning who I truly am to fill a role that served a lot of people in my past. I spent years feeling like a failure, feeling like a total dick. It's not failure. We're just evolving. When you can clearly see what it is, you'll know how to move forward. And if you've been experiencing discomfort or resentment or just a drained feeling in your friendships, that clarity is going to help you move forward in a way that will either deepen that relationship or help it come to its natural end. We've talked about intuition this year. We've talked about creativity, the expansion of awareness and consciousness, the wisdom that comes from that. When we get quiet enough, we can hear the truth. And so no matter how you change, no matter how your life changes, being able to connect with your clear center, your higher self, your truth, the clear reason why you came here, the life you came here to create, as you get more and more in contact with that, decisions about relationships, creating relationships that are more nourishing, is all a part of that path. When I was on this journey, like really looking into friendship, really trying to understand how those relationships affect me and what's actually possible in friendship for me, I started to ask myself questions that would help me get clarity. These are the questions that I used to ask myself when I started to feel kind of subtle rumblings of this friendship is not it. Who am I in this relationship? To try to like remove myself from it is if someone was watching the history of that relationship in my memories, the evolution of it, the recent history of it. And I would just try to see, like, are some of my old roles coming up? I go deeper into that conversation in the May 1st episode on Patreon. I had some certain ways that I would operate in a relationship, being able to pause and get clarity. I started to see all the ways that issue would come up and all the different ways that issue would look in relationship. Even if those roles get me acceptance, it doesn't get me joy, it doesn't get me nourishment, it doesn't get me the friendship that I feel like I deserve. And then I would also do a little energy check. Like, how did I feel going into that interaction? How did I feel coming out of that interaction? And is it what I expected it to be? That's it. Knowing those two things can also be a real clarifier as to what is not working in this relationship any longer. It's not about cutting everybody off. This is about seeing clearly, noticing the patterns, and then returning to yourself, who you are authentically and who you want to be in that relationship. We're not torching anything. We're not starting any bonfires of your relationships. We're just simply lighting the way to get a little clarity and see if it is something you need to shift or change. I'm going to tell you about the hypnotic journeys coming this month to help you get some clarity around your relationships so you can start building deeper, more nourishing connections. Next week's episode 271, is a hypnotic journey designed for you to listen to as you drift off to sleep at night. So this journey helps you see what's actually happening without needing to force a decision or have assumptions from an old perspective. A lot of times a client would come in if they were in a dispute, like in a relationship that was causing them stress, and they would be thinking, this is a communication issue. I need to be able to communicate my point of view to this person so they understand. And a lot of times what they realize is that they don't need some big conversation with this person. They needed to see how every time they had an interaction with that person, they subtly gave more and more of themselves away. They subtly abandoned who they were and how they wanted to be in this world to soothe or appease that person or to keep that relationship intact for whatever reason. All right, our second hypnotic journey this month comes in a couple weeks. That's episode 272, and we are journeying to another lifetime. This journey is going to help you let go of the pressure to perform inside of a friendship. So maybe you have a friendship and it's good, but for some reason, you can't stop acting in a certain way around them. So oftentimes we can be in relationship with great people, but for whatever reason, we feel the need to perform. This is a great place to start if you feel like a little drained, out of alignment with who you are when you're interacting with a certain relationship or friendship, even subconsciously people pleasing and adjusting who we are to serve the people around us just to keep the peace. It can be really easy for us to kind of click into some sort of role, some sort of performance in a relationship. And this hypnotic journey to another lifetime will give you an experience where you can feel something else in your body, be able to then take that feeling into your life today effortlessly and automatically and start subtly shifting these relationships that you're in so your friendships become more nourishing and just more aligned with who you are. Our third hypnotic journey of the month is episode 273. This journey to your higher self is something that I would use a lot with clients. Oftentimes when we can get crystal clear on who we are and what we want and our vision for how we want to be in friendship, that alone can relieve so much frustration, so much confusion, and so much emotional and energetic drain from certain relationships in our life. Simply a change in perspective, change in your point of view. That's all it takes to completely change how you move and how you feel in certain friendships. So you'll journey to your higher self, and you're going to hear some questions that are going to help you get crystal clear on who you are and the relationships that you want to create. Here's the thing with hypnosis and your subconscious mind, nothing can change in your life, but you can completely have a shift, a change of heart in how you feel, how you value, how much gratitude you have for things in your life, including friendships. So if we can change our experience, let go of those old roles, get in touch with who we truly are and want to be in that friendship, a lot of those things just kind of work themselves out. And that's what these 3 hypnotic journeys are designed to help you do this month. A lot of people ignore friendship. We can all make life choices, and it seems like our 30s are where kind of the rubber meets the road. What life are you choosing? And that makes all the difference for your relationships. So many people assume that relationships and friendships are just seamlessly easy and automatic. This quiet misalignment comes up constantly in sessions. You're not failing, you're just evolving in a certain direction. You're just understanding more about the life you came here to create. And in that are going to be some shifts and changes. So go in, get some clarity, and start experiencing more nourishment, more gratitude for those friendships that you have. Whether you have friendship issues or not, when in relationship, communication, when in the space of others, just notice how you feel. Notice, do you feel like your energy is shrinking? Do you feel like you're leaning in? Do you feel like you want to leave? Do you feel like you want to stay? Just notice how you feel in relationship this week. And that's it. Like sometimes noticing what our body feels, taking that second of mindfulness can illuminate pretty easily like the next path, a way for us to feel more calm, rooted, clear, expansive, joyful in any place that we show up to. If you want to go deeper into this, I'm sharing more personal patterns and session insights on Patreon. And of course, the journeys this month are designed to help you actually feel your way through this, not just think about it. So this week, notice when you feel like yourself, notice when you don't, notice when you're alone, notice when you're with other people, and then trust what you quietly know. We'll keep exploring this together. I'll see you next week.